Imagine waking up tomorrow and, genuinely believing that the person who has helped you the most in your life is actually your greatest enemy.
Oh, wow.
Right. And on the flip side, the tragedy that completely derailed your year, you now view that as a perfectly designed gift, like a benefit.
That is a massive paradigm shift.
It really is. Have you ever wondered what it would actually take to completely rewrite your own consciousness like that? Not just, change a few bad habits, but systematically tear down and rewire the very foundation of how you perceive reality.
I mean, it is a massive, almost incomprehensible undertaking for anyone to even conceptualize. We are just incredibly anchored to our default settings as human beings.
Yeah,
The
totally.
way we instinctively view success, biological family, the passage of time, and especially death, these all feel like fixed laws of nature. They're like the invisible walls of the maze we run every day.
Well, today, in this deep dive into the source material, we are looking at a text that treats all of those fixed laws as entirely optional. In fact, it frames them as the ultimate obstacle.
Which is just wild.
It is. We're examining a fascinating, intensely demanding document from October 2006. It's authored by someone referring to themselves as Deiform Buddha, and it's titled 40 Passes from Human to Chanyuan Celestial.
Yeah, and this text, it serves as a highly detailed um, philosophical and spiritual blueprint. It doesn't offer the kind of vague self-help advice we're usually accustomed to.
No, definitely not.
It literally lists 40 specific psychological, social, and spiritual paradigms, what the author refers to as passes, that an individual must systematically break through.
Right, like crossing a threshold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the ultimate goal of breaking through these passes is to transition from a standard human consciousness into the consciousness of what the text calls a Chanyuan celestial.
So whether you're someone actively seeking spiritual enlightenment or you're just, a curious learner who loves studying radically different worldviews, this text challenges almost every single default assumption you have about how to live.
It really leaves nothing untouched.
It doesn't. And just to be clear up front, we aren't endorsing or taking sides on any of the spiritual or philosophical claims made here. We're just acting as your guides to impartially map out this incredibly intricate, sometimes shocking worldview.
Right, we're just looking at the architecture of it all.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. We have 40 passes to cover, so we have to start at the bedrock of how a person even begins to see the world this way.
Well, the metaphysical foundation is really the only logical starting point.
Mm-hmm.
Before we can even begin to look at how a Chanyuan celestial acts in the real world, how they treat their friends or what they do on a Tuesday morning,
Right.
we have to understand how they perceive reality itself. If you don't understand the lens they're looking through, their everyday actions will just seem erratic or completely bizarre.
Yeah, and looking at the very first few passes on this list, it's a total teardown of the modern secular worldview. Like, pass one requires moving from materialism to idealism.
A huge leap right out of the gate.
Seriously. Pass two goes from atheism to revering the greatest creator. And pass three demands you shift from believing that everything evolves to believing everything is created.
It is a total teardown because if you don't strip away scientific materialism first, none of the social rules that follow will make any sense. But the text pushes much further than just adopting a belief in a creator.
How so?
Well, pass 4 requires moving from regular thinking to irregular thinking.
Irregular thinking.
Yeah. And pass 11 insists that you must transition from believing things happen by coincidence to believing that absolutely everything that happens is destiny. The text asserts there are 0 coincidences in the universe.
Irregular thinking. I love that phrasing because it implies a deliberate breaking of the cognitive machine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like taking off a standard pair of glasses that you've worn your whole life and suddenly strapping on a virtual reality headset where the physics of the world operate entirely differently. In this VR world, everything is by design.
What's fascinating here is the underlying thesis of the entire document, which is explicitly stated right at the beginning. It says, without the change of non-material structure of life, there would be no change of the nature of life.
Okay, so the non-material is what matters.
Right. This document posits that physical reality, the material world you can touch, the bank account you can measure, the body you inhabit, it's all entirely secondary. The non-material structure is the true engine of existence.
Oh.
If you want to change what you are from a human to a celestial, you have to fundamentally mutate that invisible non-material architecture first. Everything physical is just a shadow cast by that structure.
I mean, I understand the theory, but let me push back on how that actually plays out in daily life.
Sure, go for it.
If you, as a listener, truly adopt this irregular thinking and genuinely believe that every single microscopic event is destiny rather than coincidence, doesn't that completely paralyze your everyday human decision-making?
I mean,
Well, like, if I spill my coffee on my laptop, is that destiny? How do I make choices if the script is already written and I'm just, playing a pre-recorded part?
that's a great question. And the text anticipates this kind of human panic by redefining the entire purpose of our choices. In a materialist worldview, you make choices to control your physical environment, right?
Right. I try not to spill the coffee so my computer doesn't break and I don't get fired.
Exactly. But in the Chanyuan celestial framework, the physical outcome isn't the point. The spiritual posture you hold during the event is the point.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, believing everything is destiny doesn't paralyze you. Theoretically, it frees you from the anxiety of control. You still wipe up the coffee, but you stop fighting the emotional reality of the spill.
Because it was meant to happen.
Right. You recognize the ruined laptop as a perfectly designed piece of curriculum meant to test and refine your non-material structure.
That is
Yeah.
wow. But if you completely surrender control over your own physical destiny and you stop caring about physical outcomes, you can't exactly be responsible for the physical destiny of a spouse or children.
Which is exactly why this philosophy demands the complete destruction of the traditional family unit.
Yeah, which brings us to the social inversions, which are arguably the most radical part of this
Oh,
document.
no, absolutely. We see this play out in several highly disruptive passes that systematically dismantle conventional human safety nets.
You aren't kidding. Look at Pass 8. A human being loves a secular family, but a Chanyun and Celestial must transition to loving a big family, which is like a heaven with peace and happiness.
It completely dissolves the borders of the nuclear family.
Yes, and Pass 15 explicitly states the shift goes from get married and have a family to no marriage and no family.
And the text doesn't just want you to physically abandon these institutions. It demands you rewire your emotional response to them as well.
Right, which is Pass 29.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Past 29 says, humans are happy for being married, but a celestial should be sad for being married.
That is immense psychological violence to a human norm.
It really is.
To sit at a wedding and feel genuine sadness because you view the marriage not as a union of love, but as two people locking each other into a material prison.
Right.
And it continues with Past 30, requiring a shift from being conservative for love and sex to being open for love and sex.
By demanding that a celestial view marriage with sadness and abandon the secular family unit, the text is forcing a complete detachment from human ethics and biological loyalty.
It's just tearing it all down.
Yes, and this brings us to the mechanism behind this new society in Past 27. It states you must stop differentiating relationships according to ethics or bloodlines, and instead differentiate them according to the, quote, frequency of vibration of life.
That is such a wild concept. It's like tuning an old school radio dial.
Okay, I like that.
As a human, you're forced to listen to whatever station your blood relatives are broadcasting on, even if it's just static and noise to you, simply because you share DNA.
Right, you're stuck with it.
But as a celestial, you're no longer bound by that dial. You just tune in to whoever happens to be broadcasting on your exact same energetic frequency. You find your big, heavenly family based purely on resonance.
That analogy perfectly illustrates the required detachment.
So hearing static from your own parents wouldn't cause guilt. You just change the channel.
Exactly. You are seeking out those whose non-material structures vibrate at the same frequency as yours, completely ignoring whether they're a sibling, a stranger, or a neighbor.
But wait, I have to point out a glaring contradiction in the text's own logic here.
Oh, let's hear it.
In Past 13, the document says a human lives for others, but a celestial must live for oneself. Yet we just established with Past 8 that we must love this massive big family.
Right.
How does living entirely for oneself reconcile with being part of a heavenly family? Isn't any kind of family inherently about living for others? Doesn't this make empathy a roadblock to enlightenment?
I see what you mean. If you approach living for oneself with a human materialist definition, it absolutely sounds like a contradiction. It sounds like selfish hoarding.
Yeah, totally.
But remember, they're abandoning materialism. Living for oneself in this specific context means taking absolute, uncompromising responsibility for the perfection of your own non-material structure.
Okay.
You cannot save anyone else's soul. You cannot evolve for them. In the human realm, living for others often means sacrificing your spiritual growth to fulfill worldly obligations to your spouse or children.
Like working a job you hate to pay a mortgage.
Exactly. The celestial abandons those worldly obligations. You live purely for your own spiritual sublimation, and the big family is simply the natural gathering place of individuals who are all doing exactly the same thing independently.
Okay, I get it now. So you enjoy their company, but you aren't bound to them by any earthly debt. You aren't paying their bills, and they aren't paying yours.
Precisely.
Which begs the question, if a Chanyuan celestial isn't building a traditional family, and they aren't accumulating wealth or striving for social status to support that family, what are they waking up to do every day?
This brings us to the profound reevaluation of human effort and the concept of non-doing.
Non-doing.
Yeah. Past 9 tells us to abandon the idea that success depends on human effort and man can conquer nature. Instead, a celestial operates under the belief that everything runs according to Tao, and Tao manages everything.
Let's pause on that word Tao because it carries a lot of historical weight. In the context of this specific document, how is it functioning?
In this 2006 framework, the Tao represents the unforced underlying rhythm and flow of the universe. It is the invisible current of destiny we talked about earlier.
Okay, so it's that destiny current again.
Right. When the text says the Tao manages everything, it means the universe is already perfectly balancing itself. Human effort, like trying to force a specific outcome, trying to conquer a mountain or dominate a market, is seen as arrogant friction against that natural current.
So no more grinding at a 9-to-5 job trying to conquer the corporate ladder.
Nope.
Past 10 reinforces this beautifully. It says man makes arduous efforts, but the celestial must take things as they come, dispose things as they go, acting follow nature, achieving follow chances.
And past 17 takes it even further into a life of profound surrender. Humans try to be a good man, a great man, or a hero.
Why celestial?
Their only goal is to take it easy and be merry.
Take it easy and be merry. I like that.
Yeah, you move from treating life seriously in past 35 to treating life as merely playing games. And ultimately, past 37 states you must stop striving for possessing and instead strive for abandoning.
Take it easy and be merry? It almost sounds too simple compared to the heavy metaphysical lifting required to get there.
It does seem like a paradox.
It reminds me of playing one of those massive, open-world sandbox video games. You start off playing like a stressed-out human obsessing over the main quest line, hoarding digital gold, grinding for a high score.
Right, trying to win the game.
But then you realize the points don't actually matter, the main quest is completely optional, and the gold is fake. So you just start exploring the map for the pure joy of it. You're just playing.
That is a brilliant way to look at it. If we connect this to the bigger picture, that video game realization is the essence of moving from doing to non-doing, which is explicitly listed as past 31.
Right.
You are no longer trying to force the material world to conform to your desires.
Yeah.
You also move from valuing the form to valuing the essence, which is past 26.
Because the physical form doesn't matter.
Exactly. When your sole motivation is perfecting that non-material structure of life we keep coming back to, that's past 23, you naturally develop a preference for non-ownership, as outlined in past 22. Why own material things if the material world is just a temporary, secondary illusion?
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Treating life as a sandbox game and abandoning ownership sounds incredibly peaceful until you slam into past 12.
Yes, past 12.
This one stopped me dead in my tracks. It says a human believes benefactor is benefactor while enemy is enemy, but a celestial must believe benefactor is enemy while enemy is benefactor.
It's a tough one to swallow.
I need you to explain this. Why on earth would someone who helps you be viewed as an enemy?
Because in this worldview, comfort is a cage. When a benefactor gives you something material, whether it's money, a prestigious job, or even physical safety, they create an ethical obligation.
Okay, I think I see where this is going.
They anchor you to the secular world with gratitude and debt. You now owe them your time, your loyalty, or your resources. That debt forces you to remain deeply engaged in the human game of transactional relationships.
So they tie you down.
Right. The people who make your life easier are just adding padlocks to the door of your material prison.
So the help is actually a trap that pulls your focus away from the non-material world.
Precisely. And when you apply that logic to the flip side, why is an enemy a benefactor? Because an enemy creates hardship.
Right.
They cause you pain, they strip away your material comforts, they betray you, and in doing so, they destroy your attachments to the material world. They force your non-material structure to endure friction.
And friction causes growth.
Yes. In this paradigm, Friction is the only thing that causes spiritual growth.
Yeah.
The enemy inadvertently pushes you closer to being a celestial by making the human world so unbearable that you finally let go of it.
That is a wildly intense way to view interpersonal conflict.
Yeah.
Like the person stealing from you is actually your spiritual savior.
It flips everything upside down.
Treating life as a game with rules like that requires completely changing the timer on the clock. Which brings us to the final inversions of the document, dealing with time and death.
Yeah, the shift in perspective regarding time and mortality is really the ultimate crucible for the celestial. Past 33 states that humans plan on the basis of hundreds of years. We build legacies, family trusts, monuments. Celestials, however, plan on a basis of thousands and 10,000 years.
That scale of time makes a human lifespan look like a long weekend.
It really does.
And the passages concerning death are just completely inverted. Past 38 says humans learn how to live, but celestials learn how to die. Past 39 says humans are scared of death, while celestials are scared of life.
It's chilling, in a way.
It is. And past 28 bluntly states a human is happy to be alive, but a celestial is happy for being death. What does learning to die even look like on a practical level?
It looks like the active shedding of your biological survival instincts. To understand this, we have to look at the reward system this document promises.
Okay, what's the reward?
Past 24 says the human pursues a long life, but the celestial pursues Buddha fruit. In this text, Buddha fruit isn't just a metaphor for enlightenment. It represents the ultimate culmination of spiritual cultivation.
The ultimate goal.
Right, the non-material reward for successfully shedding the human operating system. Past 34 states the ultimate goal is for the mind, body, and spirit to exist entirely in the non-material world.
Wow.
For the Chanyuan celestial, death is not an endpoint.
Oh.
As past 6 says, it is a leap of life.
A leap to where exactly? Does the text specify?
Yes, actually. Past 14 gives us the geography of the afterlife in this belief system. Death is the transition to the, quote, 1,000-year world, 10,000-year world, the Elysium world, and Celestial Islands continent.
So it's like a high school graduation.
How do you mean?
Well, if you view human life as high school, you might be terrified of being forced to repeat the same grade over and over again. You'd be genuinely scared of life.
Oh, I see.
But you would be joyful to finally graduate, to face what humans call death, because it means you finally get to leave the school building and enter the much wider, more expansive universe.
The emotional inversion of that analogy is exact. To a celestial, clinging to human life is like a senior in high school refusing to leave the building because they're terrified of the college campus they've never seen.
Right.
The human world is seen as a low-level, restrictive, almost remedial environment.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? If someone actually adopts this mindset, if they start practically learning how to die and become genuinely scared of life, doesn't that completely devalue the beauty of the present human experience?
It certainly challenges it.
I mean, if you are just killing time in the sandbox waiting to graduate to the Celestial Islands continent, aren't you missing out on the joy of the here and now? Or, on the flip side, does thinking in terms of 10,000 years actually cure us of all our daily, petty anxieties?
It's the ultimate double-edged sword, and the text demands you grip the blade. Yes, it radically devalues the traditional markers of human happiness.
Right, the family, the job.
A beautiful marriage, a successful career, a loving family, these are explicitly framed as illusions or traps meant to keep you from graduating. But it simultaneously offers absolute immunity to worldly suffering.
Because none of it matters.
Exactly. If you lose your job, or face bankruptcy, or even face terminal illness, a 10,000-year perspective renders those events entirely meaningless. It is a philosophy of supreme, impenetrable detachment.
Supreme detachment. It really requires you to let go of everything you've ever been taught to hold on to since the day you were born.
And the author, Deiform Buddha, acknowledges how incredibly grueling this process is. At the very end of the text, they offer a culminating metaphor.
What's that?
They state that this entire sequence of 40 passes is the process of a pupa taking flight and turning into a butterfly, heading to the land of the immortal.
A pupa into a butterfly. It implies that being human is just the larval stage. We're essentially spiritual caterpillars crawling in the dirt, completely unaware of what we're supposed to become.
Exactly. But the text also includes a crucial caveat in its concluding lines. It says how difficult it is depending on your own experiences, which is also translated in the text as requiring cold and warm self-knowledge.
What does that mean, practically?
It means you cannot fake this transition. You have to genuinely experience the brutal cold and the comforting warmth of human life to truly understand why you need to let go of it.
Wow.
The blueprint is laid out, but the difficulty of flipping those 40 internal switches is entirely dependent on your own internal baggage and your willingness to suffer through the friction.
That is incredibly profound. And just to give you a little more context as we wrap up, this philosophy doesn't just exist in a vacuum. The document concludes by linking out to specific websites mentioned in the text, like Chanyuan and New Oasis for Life.
Right.
These served as the digital home for this 2006 text, anchoring it for anyone who is looking to explore the community that sprouted around these ideas. But again, we are just looking at the architecture of the belief, not telling you to move into the building.
No, absolutely not. Our goal is to synthesize the ideas, not proselytize them. But the concepts themselves are certainly worth grappling with, especially as a mirror for our own behavior. This text suggests there are 40 specific switches we can flip to move from a human operating system to a celestial one.
And what a list of switches it is, from abandoning materialism to completely dissolving the family unit, to treating life as a meaningless game, and ultimately viewing death as the grand graduation we should all be rushing toward.
Which raises an important question to leave you with. It leaves you wondering, if someone successfully flipped all 40 of these switches, if they achieved this state of supreme detachment where they felt zero biological loyalty to their family, viewed their benefactors as enemies, and treated human tragedy as a perfectly designed game.
Yeah.
Would they even be recognizable to us as a spiritually enlightened being? Or, without the messy, illogical empathy that makes us human, would they just seem like a sociopath? Think about it.
If you had to rewrite your consciousness, what's the one piece of your humanity you'd refuse to leave behind? We'll catch you on the next deep dive.